Hey guys, it's Riley, or else Thrifted over on Instagram and Poshmark, and today we're doing something a little different. I'm filming a thrift with me for my antique booth. I had to wait in line for a while, so I was a little frustrated. So the first thing, I head in and I'm looking for some furniture. I opened my booth back in December, halfway through December, and so I'm still figuring out what I want to do, looking for cool pieces to fill it up. I think I'm leaning now towards doing more of like a walk-in closet look. I'm still learning what is selling for me in my booth, and right now clothes are doing very well, so I do think I'm going to add another clothing rack in. But today we are not shopping for clothes. I was just looking for hard goods to go in my booth, and I have enough hard goods now, so I won't be looking for any hard goods for a while. I'm going to stick to clothes for a little bit. So the first thing after the furniture I looked at were these dishes, and dishes don't sell well for me in my booth, and I have since learned dishes can be a hard sell. I'm not a hard goods seller on eBay or Mercari or anything. Rarely I'll sell a hard good item over on Mercari or Poshmark, but for my booth I was excited to get into hard goods, and I have been selling some hard goods, just not as many as I thought might sell. The antique mall that I'm in has mostly hard goods. I'd say only about 10% of the store is clothing, and so I definitely have less competition with clothing. I have, again, since learned, and clothes do sell very well for me. Oh, and once a Poshmark reseller, always a Poshmark reseller. This is a brand I've been wanting to try out on Poshmark, or not really wanting to. It's called Mono B. I ran into it a few times before, and these pieces were all half off new with tags, so I decided to grab them and give them a chance. Don't worry, that was the only Poshmark content for this. Now I am looking at art. This day I went in with the intention to look at art. I needed some bigger pieces to put on the wall, or maybe just fill up the space a little bit more. I could still use some art, but I haven't really found anything I like. This piece looked like it could be on the slightly older side, but I passed it, and the one behind it was definitely a more modern piece. And this poster right here was a Pulp Fiction poster. I think it was also slightly on the older side. It was $3 though, and had the price tag on it for $8, like the original price. Or maybe it was at $2, I don't know. Anyway, I probably would have only paid about $1 for that, and so I left it behind. In this state, orange tag right there. We're half off, but I did not pick that up. That did not seem like a newer piece. So again, I'm just looking for some cooler, bigger art type pieces and not really finding anything. I don't know that much about art and what is trendy. I just pick up stuff that I like and hope that it sells. And I have sold a few little things, art things, but nothing big. So coming up here, I pull out this bamboo woven mirror, not bamboo, but woven mirror, and I thought that could be cool. It had like an older feel to it, but it was modern, made in China, so left that behind. While you can sell newer pieces in my antique mall, I'm really just looking for cool vintage things. This piece of art actually I think was kind of cool looking back at this footage, and I don't know why I didn't look it up or consider buying it. I don't know. It does look to be slightly older, maybe like the 90s, early 2000s, but I put it back and I don't remember why. So here is a signed piece, and it was also numbered, so I believe it was a print, and I did check comps on this since it was signed, and it was selling for a decent amount online, although, I mean, the artist's pieces, but there were only a few listed, and so I did put it in my cart. There's a comp, but I ended up ultimately leaving it behind. And here is another one by the same artist, also signed, also numbered, and it was actually numbered 24 out of 375. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the lower the number, the better. I didn't know how desirable those would be, so I left them behind. And here's a mirror that I liked, but it was modern, so left that as well. And here is an original oil painting. It was not signed, probably just like an amateur piece, but it was half off for $1.50, and I was looking for art and I liked it. Oh, I did put the mirrors in my cart, but I put them back. These were paintings, like prints of paintings that I thought were cool. I actually really like this style of art. And here's some comps on Etsy, which you can see are kind of all over the place. And this is a love is all you need little sign, and I got that for half off, and it actually sold in my booth pretty fast. I only sold it for $11, but I'm fine with that. It was just a little sale. I grabbed this picture frame from TJ Maxx for myself because it was pretty, and I like to have pretty picture frames for when I need them. So everything I showed you just now did go in my cart, and I wheeled it around for like the 2 hours I was there and put almost all of it back because I just didn't know. I wasn't in love with any of it and didn't know how long I'd be sitting on it, because I do think I would be sitting on the bigger art pieces for longer, and so I put them all back. And The only one I kind of regret was the first signed artist piece I showed you. I think that one was really pretty and the style would have sold it, the watercolor one, but I left them behind. It would have been nice for them to sell in a pair as well. Now I'm going through the trinkets, and honestly, I think I should have started on the other side of the hard goods because by the time I was getting ready to leave, the store was closing. I was finding stuff on the other side of the store more than I was over here. I didn't walk away with that much over here, and I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm just looking in the mismatched stuff. I think this is supposed to be like candle pieces, but these are Avon candle holders, and they're vintage but not worth anything, and they are priced at $1.99 each. I'm holding them upside down, but left those behind. And then I head over to the figurines. I'm mainly looking for like animals, cute animals to stick in my booth. I see these carousel things all the time. I've never researched them, but if you know anything about them, let me know. And it's our favorite Precious Moments. That is an older one. And I have sold a Precious Moments nativity set that did well, but other than what I've heard about Precious Moments is like the religious ones can do well, and other than that, very few do. So I didn't even bother looking them up, and I'm not really finding anything. I do go grab this figurine, and it is made in Japan, but it's probably older, but I didn't know how to date it, and not worth a whole lot anyway, so moved on from that. And then, actually, next to the figurine I had just picked up was this figurine, which said made in occupied Japan, which means it's from the 40s, but I checked comps on it just out of curiosity, and it's worth like $10 by itself, so I left it behind. I think it's actually supposed to have a mate, so I don't know. And then I found this peg, and it was not, it was vintage because it's dated 1994 on there, but it does have a made in China sticker still on it, so I wasn't super interested, and also I have no freaking clue what this is. Like, obviously you probably set something on it, but please tell me if you know what that is, because I'm just so confused. I might have picked it up if I knew what it was, because Easter's coming up and people like pigs and animals. Animal stuff is a good pickup. People like animals, they like to buy cute things. Honestly, I think I spent too long in the figurine section. I don't even know why. I'm not a trinket figurine person, but I spent a good amount of time in there. I did find this little fairy, or angel it says, and kind of got excited at first because it's only 99 cents and comps are about like $15, and then I realized she was chipped, so left her behind. And here are some dolls, and I know nothing about dolls, and the boxes were open and they're all half off, so to me that meant that since they had been there to make it to half off day and the boxes were all open and people had been looking at them, they probably weren't worth anything, so I didn't even bother looking them up. I loved this little garden gnome. I think he was homemade, like hand painted, because it has someone's name on the bottom. But he was $3, and I felt like that was a little too much. I'd probably only put him in my booth for like 11 or 12, so I left him behind. I would have picked him up for half off. And that is a music box, and I looked it up, and it was on Etsy for 15. There is a not sold but active listing, so left that behind. This was not an old clock, and so wasn't interested, especially for $5, but it did look cool. This clock coming up was funny for me to see because we actually make these in my school district in our middle school. That probably had someone's name on it who went to one of the middle schools where I live. I wonder how many of those end up at Goodwill. Okay, this cat was half off. She was $1, and I think it was just a decoration, but I feel like I definitely should have bought her because, as I said, people love animals, people love cats, people love dogs, but I left her behind, and honestly, I kind of regret it. I just cut out a bunch of the trinkety footage because I really didn't find anything. It was kind of boring. This was interesting to me, but it was cracked and it probably didn't work. I'm not a clock person. Now this was a beautiful piece, but I was so bummed, and I pull it out and I'll show you why. They wrote $10 on it. It was half off, but it's probably because they wrote on the wood, and even if it's as good as you could get it out, it would still leave a mark. This clock looked like it maybe had a little bit of value, and there are some listings on Etsy, but the battery pack was corroded, so it probably wouldn't work, and I left it behind. Finally, make my way out of the trinket section without much, and am now looking at the end cap of some dishes. As I said, dishes don't sell too well for me, but I really like dishes, and so I like to look through them if I'm going through Hardgoods. That plate was interesting, but not worth it to me for $3. Coming up here, not that was half off, but this looked interesting to me. I was like, oh, that's obviously silver plate because of how it's tarnished, but it was not like silver, so I didn't even bother picking up and looking at it. And maybe I would have if dishes moved better for me, but they don't, and for as much as I love them, that's so sad. This piece was made in Italy, so it probably did have some value in it. I don't know how old it was. There were no other markings. It probably would have sold for a decent amount online, but as I said, I'm not a hard goods seller. I did not want to ship that either. Here's another item I regret not picking up. This little wood bowl, and it did have a mark on it, but I couldn't decipher it, and it was half off, so why didn't I buy it? I don't know. And this was an exciting find for me. It is Heisi Glass. It was half off for $2, and this plate is from like the 30s or 40s. It's got that silver plate on it, and I actually went to another Goodwill a few weeks after this and found not a matching piece, but a very similar Heisi piece. This taco dish is from the 80s, and I thought it was fun and someone might like it for their kitchen, so I grabbed it. And that was actually half off. Oh, I grabbed this for my own personal glass collection. That is tiara glass from the 70s, or it's that princess glass, I don't remember. And this cake stand was cool. I liked the silver plate detail on it, so I grabbed it. These were Williams Sonoma, and I did look them up just out of curiosity to see how they were selling online. There was a listing on Poshmark for $25, and there were only two, and they were $2 each, so I passed them. Pretty Pretty Princess is a game that can have some value, but I didn't pull it out. It didn't seem worth it to me. This was super cool. It was like an old, probably school science kit. It was maybe from, I don't know, just the box looks like 70s. I was looking for a date, but I couldn't see anything. I left it behind. And I wanted these to be stickers, butterfly stickers, but it was just a notepad, which was disappointing. This coming up was a super cool find. It was someone's school project, I'm guessing, or maybe just project for fun, from 1940, and Goodwill had it priced at $1, and I did carry it around with me in my cart for a little bit, but I left it behind because I knew it would not really sell in my booth. It would sit there forever, and when it sold, probably for like $5 to $8, and so I left it behind and hoped that someone else would find it as cool as I found it. Now I'm looking through like creamers and gravy boats and stuff. Again, more dishes that probably wouldn't sell that well for me. I did recognize that print, the pineapple print, but I couldn't think of what it was. And this, I was like, oh, this looks old and cool. And it ended up having a website on it, so you know it's not that old. I really like going through this stuff because, as I said, I like dishes, but even more than dishes, I like cool glass, and I really wish it sold better, like this pressed glass piece, and there's another one I'm about to put right next to it because they possibly went together. I don't know, I didn't look at the pattern too closely, but they don't have a good resale value glass like that, so that's a bummer for me because I like it. This was a nice teapot, but it was missing a lid, and oh wow, it was only 99 cents, probably because it was missing a lid. This was cool. It was $3. It was definitely on the older side, but I have enough teapots in my booth and none of them have sold yet, so no more teapots for me right now. I loved this piece, and if it was slightly cheaper, I would have 100% bought it for my booth, but it was $3 and it wouldn't have sold for that much. If I had my own house, I probably would have bought it, but I can't bring any more dishes type kitchen stuff into my house because I don't have my own house and we don't need any more. So, moving on from that, just looking at the trinket kind of kitchenware stuff because you know you might get a cool find like that vintage 60s/70s container. Let me know if you think I should have paid the $3 for that because I mean it was super cool and I loved it. I did pick this up for my booth because I could tell it was older and it has that restaurant-y type feel. It's probably like a picture at a restaurant, which is kind of cool. And I did check Etsy and there was a listing up for $34. I did not price mine that high, but it did give me a little bit of information about the piece, which is always nice. And now we're back to more vintage dishware that I like, but I am not going to buy for my booth or for myself because I have nowhere to put it. And I'm pretty sure I could have probably pretty easily researched these pieces and found out what they were and who made them if I wanted to. Actually, that plate I think was made by the same one I picked up for myself. Just I would have picked it up if it was pink, but it was clear and I didn't really have an interest in the clear plate. You know what? I probably would have grabbed it again if I had my own house, if I needed stuff for my house. This was super cool. I grabbed this for my booth. It's like a cheese or dessert tray and it cleaned up really nicely. There's some Noritake, if that's how you say it, porcelain, and it was half off, but I did not pick it up because I have some in my booth and it's not moving because again dishes aren't selling that well for me. If you have an antique booth or you just have any suggestions on how I should get my dishes moving, please leave them in the comments down below. If you have any tips at all, for running an antique booth. I would love to know them. I would love to know your experience. So feel free to share any experience, positive or negative, you've had. And again, more vintage glass. That was cool. I love vintage glass, but people at the antique mall, it's not that they don't like it, it's that there's a lot of it. And so it's not that hard to come by. It doesn't sell for that much. And there's a lot to pick from at the antique mall. And so that is why I'm definitely thinking of transitioning more to clothing, still having someone had already pulled up the sticker on that to check the maker. Anyway, that's why I'm thinking about still having some hard goods, but really switching stuff out and making it more of a clothing focused booth. Clothing as in vintage clothing from like the 90s and before. And I walked over to these watermelon glasses because I thought they were cool, but obviously didn't put that much effort into looking at them. So this piece coming up is a Morton Salt Creamer, and it is supposed to have a sugar matching piece to it. These are pretty common. It's from like the 60s, 70s. I picked it up for $1 because logo brand type pieces generally do well, and it's not going to sell for that much, and it doesn't have the sugar matching piece, but you know what? I grabbed it to give it a chance. We'll see if it sells. And still here I am looking for glass that maybe I could get myself. Oh, this was cool. This was definitely old. It was probably a candy dish. I looked under and it was also half off, but sadly missing a lid. And it was also kind of discolored, so I didn't put that much more effort into it. I was kind of like, don't want it. But it was pretty and it would have looked nice with a lid and if it wasn't discolored, and I really need to get out of the glass. Okay, this looked cool, and it was obviously like a brewery jug, but it did look like it could be old, but it had a website on it, so it wasn't old. But this is the kind of thing I would love to buy for my booth. Maybe if it was cheaper I still would have picked it up. People like to decorate their bars, and that's super trendy right now, like a bar cart. I grabbed this bowl because it was half off, it was 50 cents, and I probably shouldn't have. And here we are at an abrupt ending. They turned the lights off a few minutes before the store closed. I stayed till closing on a Sunday, and they were totally trying to kick us out. So that is it for my Thrift with Me for my antique booth. I didn't walk away actually with that much stuff, but that is all. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!